Hi and welcome to Qt tutorial series. My name is Wahid and I will share my knowledge in Qt framework with you. I hope you enjoy it. Unlike a standard tutorial series, there is no exact roadmap in this series. I'm not going to start from basics to advanced topics. Instead of that, I want to cover some special features of Qt framework that will help you to create more flexible applications. Therefore, I assume that you have a basic knowledge of programming with C++ and also Qt framework. In this session, we are going to take a look at properties in Qt. But before starting the main subject, let's talk a little about why properties is very important for me, insofar as my first educational video in Qt framework dedicated to that. I've been programming with Qt framework in the last 3 years. Recently, I found out I need an ORM library for my projects, something like Microsoft Link or Hibernate in Java. Therefore, I decided to create a library for this purpose, and definitely I will upload it on GitHub in near future. Properties is the base of my ORM library, and other programmers should have good knowledge of this feature in order to work with my library. Properties has several benefits, but some programmers play down this fantastic feature alongside with many other lovely features that Qt framework provided for us. I'll try to cover these features in my tutorial series. As you can see in this slide, I listed 3 most important features of properties. First of all, properties give us more flexibility in using existing objects. If we need some piece of information that wouldn't save in object fields, we can use properties to save those values. Second important feature of properties will show up when you want to use CSS for styling your widgets. By using this feature, we can have more control on CSS selectors. And last and most important feature for me is that using properties, we can access objects' inner fields without using their setter and getter methods. This feature is vital for my library. Don't panic, I will check all these features in real application very soon. Okay, let's get down to business. Let's take an overview of what we are going to cover during this session. First of all, we take a look at properties ecosystem in Qt. Then, we move on how to work with properties in existing objects. After that, we will see how to declare new properties, set and read their values. And at last, advanced topics for properties will be covered. Okay, what is properties in Qt? For those of you that have some background in programming with C# or VB.NET, I have to say that properties in Qt is completely a different concept. It is based on meta-object system and support inter-object communication via signal and slots. If you want to use property in your own object, first of all, you should inherit from QObject class. And for declaring new properties, you should use Q_property macro. Reading properties value will be done using property method. And for setting some values to some properties, you should use setProperty. Both of these methods are declared in QObject, and we will see them in this session. To begin, we start Qt Creator application. It doesn't matter you're using Windows, Linux or a Mac operating system, the ID is the same in all of them. But I don't know why we have more performance in Linux operating system, but I'm a fan of Windows operating system. If you want to read a comprehensive guide for Qt properties, you can just go to help section. In filter text field, you can just type Q_property, and there's only one single item. If you double click on this, here it is a brief description of Q_property macro in QObject class. If you want to read it in more details, you can use this link, Qt's property system. Here is a comprehensive guide for Qt property system, and I try to cover the most important directive that you can see them here in this session. For additional information, you can read this page. It doesn't take a long time. Okay, we go back to a welcome page. I want to create a new project and I use Qt widgets application. As a name, I use property sample application. I left the other settings as default. It has worked for this session, I think. And we run the application. We have an empty window. We will use it for the continue of this session. Okay, everything is okay, installation is fine. I go to main window in design mode. I need a couple of widgets. A push button for doing my actions, a line edit as input, and I want to work with its property as a sample. And I need 3 Q label for output representation. I didn't lay out the entire form, it doesn't necessary for this session. What do I want to do by using these items? I want to enter a name here, for example my name, and using different methods, for example setter or getter method to catch this value and set it in the first label. And in continue, I want to use property method to fetch this value, and also set property method to assign it to these labels. So I changed the name here. I said this is ln name. For button, I changed the caption to read, and also the name to btn read. First label, I want to set text in using getter method, so I called it lbl getter. Second label, I want to use property method, property. And for the third label, I use lbl property 2. Build it to see if we have any error or not. We go to slot, click a slot of push button. Here I want to write some code. The first one, lbl getter ui.lbl getter.set text. This is the most trivial application, trivial task in application, setting a text for a label using setter and getter method. We don't focus on this, we just do it. ui.lmname.text, text getter method and set text setter method. But for the 2 other labels, I want to use property method. So I declare a variable, called it auto name, and I use to auto and let compiler to interfere the type of the variable. We use ui.lname. This time I use property method, and he said give me a name as a property. I said text. I know that the text of line edit can be achievable using text property, and as you can see the result is Q variant, so I should cast it to a desired type. I use to a string to cast it to a Q string, and if I hover mouse on auto, you can see that the interfere type is Q string. So I'm going to use lbl property.setText method, and here I pass name. This is also very obvious. And for the third label, or lbl property 2, I want to use set property method to assign text to assign to some value to text property, and that text is variable name. So by this example, I want to demonstrate that we can achieve some fields without using setter and getter method, just using properties, if they are internally connected. As you can see, Vahid will appear in these 3 labels. If I change it to Amin, the result is also the same. I can use this set property for line edit also to change its initial value. I use it in constructor. Instead of lbl property 2, I said ai.ln name. Wow, my mobile has some messages. I silent it. Name dot set property for text. I said put Reza in this field, and if we run the application, we can see that at first there's no Wahid in the line edit, and Reza will be set. As you can see, Reza, and if I clicked on it, these 3 labels will be changed. So on the other hand, we can add extra data to existing object. For example, Q widget is an object. I want to add some extra information that cannot be maintained in the currently fields. If we want to go to design mode, we can just use Shift plus F4, and vice versa. If we want to go Shift plus F4 will be useful. Okay, here I select line edit. As you can see, there's an object list. There's a property list for this object. ln name, type Q line edit, and some appropriate items for setting fields in this widget. If we change the widget, the list also changed appropriately. I want to add some dynamic properties to this line edit. If you can see, there's a plus button here and said add dynamic property. We can add extra items as a field or property to existing widgets or object. It doesn't matter. In UI, we can use it through some wizards. If I clicked on this plus button, a menu pops up And there are three items in this menu: string, bool, and other. These are a very convenient way to appear the create dynamic property. Here we should enter a name, and on the common box we should select the type of the property. For example, I want to add a string and name is a state. I want to add a state for my line edit. If I press OK, a new section here will appear called dynamic properties, and a new property here, a string, a state of type QString, and I can enter something here. For example, cleared. I can also add many other type. For example, if you said I want some type of bool is checked, for example, you can see the box here changed appropriately to get information from you for Boolean type, and you can delete this property from here. Okay, if I want to read the state property, I just can here say go and read state property of line edit and set it as text for those two other labels. What do we have if we run the application? We will wait, and as you can see for the first one, because we use the text method, this text will be appear here, and for the other two line edits we have cleared that was set in a state property before. We can do this in the code also. I want to use this in code. I can change it. I set property state and set not empty, for example, empty. My text box is not empty. And if I run the application, you can see this line override the existing value of the widgets. Oh, as you can see, not empty is applicable. We can declare new property in code also. So here I can say I have a property called state2, for example, and there's a name called Ali in that. Or let's text2, we call it text2. And if I here set go and read text2 property, Ali will be returned and showed in the second and third label on the form. Let's see it. Okay, as you can see, Ali is in these two labels, and these are how we can work with properties in existing widgets. We can add them in design mode or in code. We can read or set values for them. If one property does not exist, it will be created on the fly, and it doesn't a big deal. Okay. If you can remember, we said in the presentation that property in Qt are based on meta object system. What does it mean? We can use meta object. Meta object is information about some objects. For example, I want to catch all properties for one widget. How can I do this? I can do this using this auto count. I want to retrieve the number of property in one single object. It's equal to ui.lnname.meta object. It is type of Q meta object. I should add this to the headers. Number include Q meta object, and also I need number include the Q meta property. We will use it very soon, and also number include Q debug. We use it for debug purposes. So dot property count. I want to print out the property count of QDebug count of my line edit. Let's run the application. Okay, if you click the read method, as you can see, there's 79 predefined properties in line edit. So there's a question here: if these two extra properties that we declared in this application is contained in this 79 or not. We can check it using add another line edit to the form. I add another line edit to form, build the application, and here instead of ln I just use line edit, and fetch the property count for this new object. We don't declare any properties for this new widget. I clear the output console and click the read method. As you can see, this one also contains 79. So we can conclude that dynamic properties will not add it to the list of predefined properties for object. You should take care about it, but we can work with them. It doesn't matter. You can also print the name of every property by using a for each loop. I to count. I want to debug. Qdebug. Oh, I'm sorry. Qdebug. Here. What? I'm sorry. Dot lm name. Dot meta object. Dot property. Which property? Give me an index. I passed I as parameter and then called name. We can also call type or type name, but here I want to name. Let's run and check the output. Okay, press red button. As you can see, there's a bunch of 79 different properties, and we can work with them just like we call their getter, and text is here that we used it, and you can use the other one. Here is the text, and I want to use this feature to create the basic of my ORM library. Okay, let's go and add a new class and see how to add property to our class. I want to add a new class. I called it C++ class, and I call it sample. The base class is QObject. I include QObject also, and I called it sample in Pascal case because I'm very anxious about the name. Here, first of all, I create a private method. I call it int underline age. I want this class to represent age of a person, and also add setter and getter. As you might know, you can use this using press Alt Enter on the field, and a menu appears. Create a setter and getter member function. Just press Enter. Setter and getter function created. We can switch between .h and .cpp using F4. As you can see, age method return underline age and set age. Accept an input parameter and assign it to underline age field. This is very obvious. We are not working on this one. So I want to add a new property to my class. As we said before, we should inherit from QObject and also add QUnderObject micro to our class. Now we are ready to create new property. For this purpose, we use QUnderLine_property. We use the snippet code here, and it types the default parameter and useful parameter for us. I have a property called, of type int. I want to call it, for example, age1, and read write notify will be deleted, and we will go back to them very soon. Here I want to assign this property to a field. We can use this using member directive. It said that this property will be connected internally to underline age. So when I use property method to read age property, it will be return the underline age value for me. So let's check it out. I comment these lines, and here I create a type of class sample, sample1. Press Alt Enter, press Enter on this one and include sample.h. Let me add 3 spin box in order to prevent casting read values. Spin box SPN1, SPN3, and SPN2. For simplicity, I change their name and compile the application to see if we have an error or not. Okay, for sample 1, I said that UI.spn1.setValue. With what? I said sample1.h, called just getter method. It is obvious and there's no need to explain it. For the second one, I said that go and read UISPN2.set property. I said what property? Oh, I just want to use set value again. Set value, and said what is the value. I said go through sample1 dot property method dot read age1 dot to int, cast it to int. Here before this operation I said sample1 dot set age 10. So we should have 10 as a value for first and second spin box. Let's check it out, and if I click read button, you can see that we have 10 for both first and second widgets. I can do this using a set property method also. So we set the sample1 dot set property for age 1 and then assign for example 20 to this. This one will override this one, and we have now 20 as the value for second and third for first and second queue spin boxes. Let's check it out. We have 20. Okay, let's go to our class and do some extra options. We can assign some methods. For example, using read directive, I said when I call property method on the instance of this class to read this property, if a read directive exists here, we can assign any functions or methods to call for and getting back the values. This means what? I said here go and call a method called age2. I can use this age here, but I want another method. There's a private method here. Int age2, and it is of type const, for example. It doesn't really matter, but I want to be const. Return underline age multiplied by 2. So when I use property to read this property method to read this property, the compiler will automatically call age2 instead of returning the age value directly. So we should have 20 for first spin box and 40 for the second spin box in this run. As you can see, 20 and 40. And we can do the same for write method. For example, if I use write directive for this purpose, we can say go and call a method called set age2. This can be public or private or protected. It doesn't matter. But for my library, I don't want to limit the programmers to use their setter and getter. They can send me any data that they want, any customized data, and I will catch them using the read function and write to their values using set functions. So here I want to say that let's copy this, and then here set age2, it receive an age, and I want to age equals to input age minus 10. So what we will have if we run the application, we passed, this line is not working anymore. If we pass 20, because I set a write directive, we use set age2. So underline age equal to 10 instead of 20. And then dot age return the original value of underline age. So for first spin box, we have 20, we have 10, and for the second I change it to 3. For the second one, we have 10 multiplied by 3 equals to 30. Let's check the output. Here if I click the read button, as you can see 10 and 30. So as you saw, we can assign different read and write methods for properties that internally connected to a variable, and this is important, and it can give extra flexibility to programmers that want to use my library. Last directive that I want to cover is notify cover. What does notify do? Notify. Using notify, I don't want a write directive anymore. It said that give me a signal that when this property value is set using set property, I will emit it automatically. For example, I said age changed. Okay, and I will define a signal here, void age changed, and I send an input in the signal, and we go back to main window. I cut it from the source, and we go to headers, add it here. In the constructor, I just connect the new signal, connect ampersand sample 1, and then signal. What signal? I want to set age changed. I said, what shall I do with this one? I said go to UI.spin3 and use set value. What did happen? Here we forget some parentheses. Let's compile the application. There's no error. We run this. 2860 receiver name parentheses expect. Oh, we forget to use parentheses. Int, and also the parameter here is int. Let's run the application one more time. Here, when I click the read button, as you can see, 20, that is the value I set for the age 1 is passed to the third spin boxes without any code writing, because I connect the set value slot to signal age change, and it's automatically emitted when we set property. Here I can cut this line here and move it to constructor. Also, we can run the application one more time. In constructor, spin box 3 will be initialized using 20 as the value. As you can see, spin box 3 is value is set because I use this slot connected to these signals. So this is all about how to add property to your classes, and I will in my ORM library guide document, I will notify how to use this property to give me some information to save in the database. And for the last and final part, we want to use properties to control style sheet. As you can see, let's delete this one, and I change the style sheet of the form. You should be familiar with some CSS here. I said every queue line edit on my form should have a background of, for example, yellow, background color and yellow. Okay, if I apply this, you can see any label on the form, any line edit on the form has a yellow background. I delete this one. So I want to change this selector. I said go and just change queue line edit that has a property called is field, and this property should have a value of 1. If you saw any line edit using this feature, change the background to yellow. Okay, I applied it because we have no line edit that even has a is filled property. Background color reset to the default. Okay, I select this one and add a property to this of type string is filled. Here we have the property, but the value is not set. If I set the value 1 for this field, you can see that the background changed automatically. If I cleared it, it rolled back. Another value doesn't happen, but for 1 it will be happen. And I can add left this line edit and add another line edit. I do the same for this one. For example, is filled, and the value is 1. As you can see, the back color for this one is also changed. You can do this in runtime, but we have a little bit different, and I will mention it for you. For example, if I click on the button, I want to change this line edit back color also. So I should add a property called is fill, and we said that we can do this using set property method. So we have I said UI.lineEdit dot set property. Which property? I said there's a property called is filled. What is the value? I said it is 1. So we expect that if I click on the red button, the back color of the second line edit should be changed to yellow. I do this. As you can see, the operation is done, but the back color is not changed. Because we use CSS it needs to be applied in one time. So you should use a style method. As you can see, a QStyle object will be returned, and we should add it in our header section. Number include QStyle and style.polish. So they give me a widget. I want to rebuild it as style sheet. I said UI.lineEdit 1, first line edit. Here we run again the application. And if we click on the read button, operation for these two spin boxes done, and also the background will be changed. As you can see, the background changed to yellow because we add a property called isFill and with value 1. If I change the value to 2, nothing happened. If even we call the polish, let's run the application again, because it doesn't satisfy the CSS or rule. We click the read button. As you can see, values change here, but the background is not changed here because the value is not what we are looking for. So this is the end of properties session. I hope you enjoy it. Goodbye.